Hi, my name's Paul. I have been running men's groups, retreats, events, that kind of thing for the past 8, 9 years here in Denmark, where I live. And it was really interesting that the Danish state television producer called DR just released a documentary on men and the Manosphere. The issues really come up in Danish popular culture recently. The government has put down a commission to investigate the Manosphere and come with recommendations about it. So this is really a relevant topic here in Scandinavia, where I live, where certainly, let's say, a male perspective is coming more and more onto an agenda that it's been quite hidden from for quite some time. So I'm going to do a little review on this documentary program, and I've just watched the first episode now, and thought I'd share some perspectives with you. The program starts with the guy called Jacob, who's kind of like the main guy in the whole documentary, sitting with his phone. And he's like scrolling through his social media feeds, and he says like, "Oh yeah, my whole stream has been completely taken over by all kinds of different manosphere bro culture stuff. It started with Joe Rogan, and now it's like, MMA, and everything is just about man, man, man. And it's like really weird, and I don't know why, and it's so strange, and let's go and look into it, kind of thing." There's not really any deeper reflection about it. It's just like the algorithm is pushing this stuff, nothing to think about. Like the algorithm maybe gives people what they want or what they're interested in, what gets them hooked onto the screens the most. But then he goes into an expert who's kind of like also brought in as the expert commentator throughout the episode, this documentary, to kind of tell us what's happening and to give us the meta perspective. This guy is called Emil. He is a consultant at some government bureau of digital online tools and equality and something or other, whatever, like trying to like, make sure that the manosphere isn't somehow ruining equality. I think that's his main role to be performing, this guy. And so they then go into this exploration. The documentary, by the way, is called Manly Men Masculinity, or something like that. Man and Men Masculine. Which I don't know why they took all three of those words and put them all together in like some kind of weird disjointed way. Masculinity is like the subtitle. It's written really tiny next to the big title, which is Manly Men or Man Men. That's what we have. Maybe it's a good reflection on where we are in Denmark. So yeah, after the conversation with this expert consultant guy, he then goes into a big church in Copenhagen called Vor Frue Kirke, and talks with a guy who's a well-known societal commentator here in Denmark called Rasmus Munk. He's a lawyer. I've actually had a little bit of contact with him. And really kind of starts asking him just basic questions about like where he was. This guy's a trad man or something like that. His wife stays at home. And he often talks a little bit, I would say, kind of like towards Christian nationalism, something like that. Obviously, he's called like extreme right-wing and white supremacist in some media in Denmark. He's given like quite a fair chance to give his perspective and ask a little bit about the background, mentioning Jordan Peterson as his kind of initiation. That kind of sets the whole thing into talking about Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate. There's a little segment about Jesus Christ as well. There's all these little parts that are put in with like lots of fast pictures and a little bit of tongue-in-cheek commentary, kind of like trying to say something in a bit of a funny way, which I think actually allows them to say things quite directly sometimes. Like they say like, yeah, then some men got tired of, being told all the time that women are being oppressed by the patriarchy, and then they started the manosphere, stuff like that. So it's kind of sharp and funny, it's goes quite a bit further than what I've normally seen on Danish television in taking like a male perspective. So from there, they also talk to some young guys who are running a little bit of a Danish podcast on like guy stuff and bro culture. But then most of the program is actually about a retreat run by a group of guys called Men's Mastery. They seem to be quite a mix of different stuff. If you see their logo, it's kind of like this 1950s style gentlemanly approach, a little bit like you see on a popular website called Art of Manliness, which I think has some great culture and some great content. But this retreat that they go to, it's kind of like a mixture of new agey stuff like breath work and meditation, and there's also some celebrities that come there and talk about free speech and anxiety and things like that. I thought it was interesting program. As I said, it's definitely a step further for what I've normally seen in Scandinavia. There was a couple of things that were a little bit strange in it. I did find it weird that Rasmus Munk started talking about Brahmacharya on the program, which is really a Hindu technique. He got asked about like his background, and he started speaking about porn dependency or porn addiction, and then said no after watching Jordan Peterson and deciding that he wants to be like a hero, which is kind of like his reason for doing the work that he's given. Then he did the semen retention program. So for me, it was a little bit indicative of how much Denmark is actually cut off from its Christian roots, that and being a monk, actually, that actually monkhood is a thing that is the Christian tradition. We don't need to go to Eastern traditions for that kind of stuff. Of course, this is also mirrored in the Men's Mastery program, where spirituality all comes from the East, and being vulnerable and being in contact with yourself all comes from Eastern traditions, and Western traditions. Then it becomes about free speech and that kind of stuff, and then men talking about anxiety and all of their challenges. So yeah, I'm interested to see where the program is headed, but it does seem to me that my big complaint about the kind of Danish media is that they always swing between these two polarized views of men and the approach to masculinity that we have. So on the one side, we have like the really hard, tough Andrew Tate, kind of dominant style, very aggressive and very much knowledge of self. And over on the other side, we have the weak and soft men who are all kind of like vulnerable and hurt and damaged and need to talk about their feelings and to cry and stuff like that. And so there's very little in between. Men can either be like these aggressive, toxic idiots, or they can be more like women, basically. And so the concept of a strong man who knows himself and is grounded himself and who loves and cares. Rasmus talks a lot about Christ. And so, but he doesn't really explain those virtues in a way that really comes through in the film, I don't think. So yeah, I thought it was a good program, a good start. Looks like there's going to be some exciting stuff coming up afterwards, and let's see what comes. If people enjoy watching this review, then I'll probably review the next episode afterward as well. So thanks for listening, and let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts or reflections.